Do what thou wilt should be the whole of the law. So, recently, a lot of people have been making comments and asking me if I'm a member of the O.T.O. And if I'm not a member of the O.T.O, why do I care so much? So, I'm going to address the second question first. The reason why I care so much is the O.T.O was the first temporal organization throughout the world to accept the law of Thelema. And what is the law of Thelema? The law of Thelema is the law of liberty. And that law is proclaimed in Liber Oz, which we Thelemites call the Book of the Law. And the basis of the law of Thelema is do what thou wilt should be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will. And there is no law beyond do what thou wilt. Now, I care about this organization because it was meant to promulgate the law of Thelema. It became a temporal order of Thelema because it had accepted that law. It had declared that it had accepted that law. And therefore, according to Kabzam Pact, Liber 333, they were meant to promulgate the law throughout the world. Well, recently, certain individuals have taken it upon themselves to parody the way the world is going. And it seems like the O.T.O has forgotten or never understood what that acceptance of the law meant. Because now you have this idea of the alt-right and you have this idea of the left, and certain individuals are allowing their own personal politics to corrupt the law of Thelema or attempt to do that. This is extremely bothersome to me. And people that are in charge of the O.T.O, and you know who you are, you shouldn't be doing this. You should not be corrupting the law of Thelema and making it into something that it's not. You shouldn't be using your superior intelligence to twist the law around in a play of words. You're entrusted with the law of Thelema through the Argentum Astrum. That's the order that gave the law unto the universe. You're not in charge of this law. There have been many others who have accepted the law of Thelema as well. The Ecclesia Luciferi Gnostica is one of them, which is my organization. We believe love is the law, love under will as well. We also believe in do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. And we believe there is no law beyond do what thou wilt. And so we felt it's been our duty to promulgate the law to all of our members in helping them understand the transition from nihilism to being able to do your will. You know, a lot of people don't understand this because perhaps they haven't followed the path that Aleister Crowley set down, and they feel that their explanation is better. Well, that's really odd, because when the Book of the Law was published, it clearly said that if you had any questions about what the Book of the Law was about, that you were to look into the writings of Aleister Crowley to understand what the book was about. Now, getting back to this idea of this parody of this duality that people are talking about, if you go into Kong Som Pox, which was a writing of Aleister Crowley, he wrote a political book. He foresaw these problems arising perhaps within the O.T.O. and other organizations, because perhaps the people who were in charge wouldn't be able to maintain the perspective of Thelema and the law of liberty, and would seek, perhaps through their own political agendas, to change that law. So in the writing of O.T.O, which is also called the Synagogue of Satan, he talks about how a sage is asked to come and resolve some problems within this society that has become corrupted, and apparently people aren't doing their will, and they're affecting the island, they're affecting the people who want things to run smoothly. So the sage comes, they ask him what his advice would be. And his advice was simply that if they are too out of balance on one side, to have them apply the opposite side. This is the nature of being able to find the law of liberty. And when they have actually lived that other side, and they're balanced out, and they're integrated in the light and the dark, and there is equilibrium, there's no longer any problem. When the leader of that nation comes back from his trip, he's freaked out because everything is working perfect the way he had wanted it to work, but it hadn't been working that way before. So this is an example left by the Master Therian of how we deal with the issue of too much of the right, too much of the left, whatever that is. You know, to me, it's just a corruption of the law of liberty. On one side, you have too much liberty, too much freedom, and on the other side, you have too much restriction. You know, and so in order to balance out too much restriction, you need freedom. You need to realize too much freedom, what that is. And you find the perfect balance of what liberty should be. So, in Liber 77, Liber Oz, we have the proclamation of what the law of liberty is about. And we don't have man's interpretation of the book of the law. What we have is verses that are specifically taken from the book of the law, which outline why certain things are stated within Liber Oz. So this isn't just a writing that a man put forward. This is a writing that promulgates the law of Thelema. And we should be proud of this writing, because we see all around us a lack of that particular writing. Everywhere. There is no freedom. Or you have to be a particular way, you have to believe a particular way in order to have that freedom. You know, for one, I hate the word ought and should because it's like a categorical imperative that this is me imposing upon others the way I feel it should be. I would prefer that people live according to the law of Thelema. But if they can't, then don't say that you're living according to the law of Thelema. If you're not able to do your will, and you feel the need to interfere with other people's will, then you're not a Thelemite. Because the basis of being a Thelemite is allowing for the freedom to allow, first of all, you're allowed to do your will, but you're not allowed to tell other people how they should do their will, interfering with their will. This duality that's being spoken of, this parody, this corruption, is an interference with another person's will. And the law of Thelema isn't about people. It's about the law. It's about allowing people to live according to that law, to let them do their will. So it doesn't matter what your grade is or who elected you to what position. What matters is promulgating the law of Thelema. And it undoes what we have done by putting forward a duality, a parody that's out of balance with the law of Thelema. And as I've said to many people, consult T and Tao for the actual resolution of this. Stop perpetuating this duality. If we want to have liberty throughout the world, then we can't give in to these politics. These politics are just there because people can't deal with the absurd. They can't negate it and say, no, I'm not going to do this anymore. No. Absolutely negate it. No. Like Crowley had stated, one of his magical names was Frater Om. Negation. He negated things that went against his will. Practice that negation. If you don't like it, negate it. And absolutely affirm your will. Affirm a higher level of consciousness. We can't resolve these problems from the same level of consciousness. We can't continue to do the same thing and expect a different result. That's madness. We need to get back to the basics and get away from this politics of people. What you believe, what you don't believe. The question is, if you're a Thelemite, do you accept the law of Thelema? It doesn't come down to what you believe. It comes down to, have you accepted the law of Thelema? And if you have, allowing others the freedom to accept the law of Thelema. So that's why I care. Not because of some kind of grade or some kind of recognition or politics. Because of the love of the law. That's why I care. The principle of care, my very being. I realize that the law of Thelema is introducing me to the nature of my very being, telling me that I should care, that I should apply love to everything I choose to do, that my will should be balanced with love. Is your will balanced with love? Is it? Love is the law, love under will.